That is the 15 freeway, the road between Los Angeles, California and Las Vegas, Nevada. This is a giant ice cream sundae at the world-famous EddieWorld, about halfway between, and it is hotter than the blazes of HE double hockey sticks. We're back in the Mojave Desert in August, right in the middle of somewhere, and I'm looking today at something that I have passed by 1,000 times and never really stopped to admire. Welcome to Liberty Sculpture Park, located right across the street from EddieWorld, right alongside of the 15 freeway, just at the exit for Calico Ghost Town. Pretty much everybody traveling between LA and Las Vegas has got to use this road right here, and of course it is very visible from the highway. It started one piece at a time, just unusual things popping up here in the desert alongside of a very busy freeway, and the road to actually get down to it is not exactly all that obvious, and so as visible as it is, Liberty Sculpture Park is something not many people know too much about, including myself. Since I am on my way to and a little past Las Vegas myself today, I thought, what the heck? Why not make a little stop? Now here's the thing, on this channel I never discuss sex, politics, or religion, but at Liberty Sculpture Park that's something that's pretty hard to ignore, because Liberty Sculpture Park has got a unique story. It was created by a Chinese immigrant fleeing persecution named Chen Weiming, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, who was pretty active in the pro-democracy move in China, which, as you can imagine, in a communist country is not all that popular. And so Weiming Chen came to America and did what any good red-blooded American would do. He and his supporters bought something like 36 acres of desert land out here along the side of the interstate to create Liberty Sculpture Park. And here you've got this giant Native American chief head. This sculpture right here is called The Origin of Freedom, #1. Chief Crazy Horse, unveiled December 11th, 2017, when the park first started. It was the first thing erected here, so as you're driving by on the freeway, you're like, why is there suddenly a giant chief crazy horse head out in the middle of the desert? And according to the sign, is to manifest a tacit truth. Freedom shall not be dictated by any people. As a big fan of freedom, I approve that message. But the chief did not stay alone for long. As a matter of fact, ever since 2017, sculpture after sculpture has been added to this place, and it eventually even got its gigantic metal Hollywood sign style letters, letting everybody know this isn't just random junk collected on private property. This is a sculpture park dedicated to liberty. One of my absolute favorite things. By the way, it's 107 degrees out here, and yes, I'm dying, although it's better to have the denim jacket on to protect yourself from the sun. The sun is worse than just the heat inside the jacket. But the only reason I'm wearing a jacket at all instead of my usual vest, and some of you may already know this, because I was just out in Nevada, in Pahrump, Nevada, filming a movie. Well, I should say acting in somebody else's horror movie, and I left my lucky vest in Nevada. I feel a little bit like Superman without his cape, so I'm going back to get it, as well as a pair of sunglasses. But you know what? Reasons aren't important. We're here at Liberty Sculpture Park. That's what's important right now. And here is, I think, one of the most important sculptures of all, a monument to what happened in Tiananmen Square in 1989, when student-led demonstrations in Tiananmen Square were violently suppressed by the government. Of course, there was that famous scene where the tanks were rolling into Tiananmen Square and one man bravely stood in front of the tanks to kind of stop their progress from crushing the demonstration, crushing free speech. Certainly a famous image that even I recognized for the time, but I gotta be honest with you, in 1989, I wasn't all that old. I was about 6.5, I think, when this went down. So although it's a very famous image of defiance, of passive resistance, of protest, of the yearning for freedom, I must admit it's not a story I'm super familiar with, and I feel a little ashamed of that. I gotta freshen up my Chinese history. Speaking of Tiananmen Square, perhaps the biggest, most standout sculpture in the park, also sculpted by Weiming Chen, is this giant 6'4" out here. No, this is not trying to be a trend like 6'7". This is also related to Tiananmen Square, because that protest happened on June 4th, 1989, and in China you weren't really allowed to talk about it, and so apparently 6'4" was sort of an underground sneaky way of referencing the kind of would-be revolution. And here under the barbed wire, look at this sort of bas-relief sculpture. You've got the tanks here, you've got Lady Liberty holding her torch, the words, "Give me liberty" or "Give me death." You've got the Chinese students, you've got the soldiers that are putting down the protests, the demonstrations. Here's our shopping bag guy standing in front of the tanks and some other people fleeing the scene. It's actually really intricate. I have no idea what this is made out of. This is definitely not your usual type of sculpture. It looks like maybe it's made out of concrete. I may not know about it, but it is clearly something that these Chinese immigrants are very, very passionate about. And when creativity and passion all mix with a message, even if it's not necessarily a message I'm super familiar with or know much about, I've got to appreciate it, especially when it rises up in the desert in the middle of basically nowhere. And unless you get up close to it and read the plaques, you're like, what in the world is this? Now these days, over the past decade or so, they've added a lot out here. They've added some shade shelters. There's a little donation box, which is a kind of a cool sculpture in its own right. They have a wall of democracy with democracy movement pioneers on here, anti-communist activists and such like who have mostly passed away. I see very few, there's a few that don't have death dates on them, but many of them do. Many of them do not because they don't know when the person exactly died. They were just disappeared. So kind of heavy stuff, to be honest with you. I don't know much about their exact cause or their exact grudges, so technically I'm not really taking a side here, but you know what I do support? The American way, being an American myself, freedom of speech and expression, and of course, any kind of roadside sculpture or weird monument or weird place to stop. So this place checks a lot of boxes for me. Look at this, right over here, inside of this little bell tower, we have the Liberty Bell hanging up over here in front of some ruins. The metal plaque calls this the ruins of culture, the spirit of freedom. And the first sentence says, Chinese society has now reached a historical crossroads, entering what can be described as the trash time of history. Should we continue to patch things up or tear everything down and start anew? It goes on to argue that communism destroyed the culture and should itself be destroyed for being anti-human. Again, I don't know exactly all the specifics of this group's particular grudges and goals, but definitely an unusual choice in terms of a place to send your message. And oh, look at this, I didn't even see this on the back of the giant 6'4". There you go, a whole bunch of information. Monument of the June 4th Tiananmen Massacre. That's crazy, and there's a whole bunch of historical information on here. I like a short version of it. I know the short version. And I feel like this is why you don't see this place featured all that often on travel vlogs and things like that, even though there's so many people going between LA and Las Vegas, is because it is sort of political in nature. I think a lot of people who maybe plan on visiting China one day would hate to be turned around at the border because they did a video about this place, but what the heck. I definitely feel like, from what little I can tell, I'm very sympathetic with these sculpture parks creators, but just in terms of pure art and something to see, especially something clearly very homemade, very DIY, and trying to strike a message out in the middle of the desert, I can very much appreciate it on that level alone, much less anything else. Look at this, this is really cool. This sort of Chinese building here that's supposed to be, I assume, part of the architecture of Tiananmen Square or maybe the Forbidden City. I can't read the Chinese writing on the front of it. There's no plaque on the back of it, so I assume it's just the sort of backdrop here, the scale backdrop for the Tiananmen Square incident. Like I said, spread out over 36 acres. There are many more sculptures and pieces of sculptures and foundations going down for future sculptures, all with different scenes of communist rule and of peaceful protest. This one is called Gazing at the Starry Sky. Human rights lawyer Gao Zhisheng, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. You can see there the law books and of course the scales of justice, blindfolded as always. Destruction of some churches on the side over here. I don't exactly know, like I said, what everything means because I'm not really up on my 20th century Chinese history, but some amazing work. And this one is dedicated to the aforementioned Gao Zhisheng? I hope I'm saying Zhisheng? It's very hard to, I don't know Chinese. But apparently he's a human rights lawyer that has been disappeared more than one time. It's the kind of thing that overseas I don't think you're allowed to talk about or even reference. And so here the whispers can be turned into permanent monuments. And even if you couldn't read it all and you didn't know what any of the signs say, I think when you get up close to Liberty Sculpture Park, you'd be aware that it was very anti-communist, especially when you get to the back and you see this, the Victims of Communism Memorial here with the giant hammer and sickle. and then many, many skulls and faces of those who suffered under totalitarian communist regimes, mainly in the 20th century. And look at this, we've got a lone survivor here, grasping towards freedom, reaching through the barbed wire. It is certainly heavy stuff. I mean, from the freeway, it just looks like, oh yeah, look, that looks like something fun, let's pull over, Ma. And then you get in here and it is, yeah, it's heavy, man, hard to ignore. You can see here, it's mostly in Chinese, but you can see a lot of date. And I can, of course, understand the words communist crimes, terror, repression. But of course, there is also an English side over here talking about all the deaths from communist regimes all over the world. Dude, crazy. Not your typical roadside attraction, that is for sure. Although they do have a restroom, that porta potty right over there. But it's 107 degrees outside. I can only imagine how hot it is in there. Just quickly, since I'm still over here anyways, I should mention that this is not a real tank. It is clearly some kind of like concrete and metal hybrid sculpture, right? So you can kind of see how much wabi-sabi it's got there. I don't know what the barrel's made out of, but I can see lots of pieces of concrete patching it together. There's a real gun on top. However, this like armored personnel unit or whatever this is back here, this thing is real and you can climb all over it, but those kids are brave because the surface of these metal objects out here is akin to the temperature of the surface of the sun. It is hotter than Stifler's mom, Brooke Shields, and Satan's corn dogs combined out here. I don't just recommend doing this in the winter if you want to see Liberty Sculpture Park. I highly recommend not doing it in the summer. Okay, you can see here we have another sculpture. We've got this person chained up here in front of these giant letters. I don't know what they stand for, but they've got bars behind them, sort of symbolizing, I'm guessing, some kind of prison. There's a lot of writing on the inside. I can't tell for sure, but I think the concrete base is actually in the shape of China and painted like the Chinese flag. It says it's called the Statue of the Chained Woman, refers to the case of a Chinese woman who was detained, chained, and imprisoned for years in a shabby hut. This represents an actual woman who is apparently kidnapped and enslaved and sold and tortured. And just another example of the things that go on over there that these artists are trying to point out. You can see why over the years when I've been on my crazy, like, let's go be silly road trips, I've not included this among the stops. Like I said, in 2017, first it was just Chief Crazy Horse out there. I'm like, what is that? And I could never find the road to get back here, and there was nothing about it on the internet for the longest time, so I had no clue what was going on, what the purpose was. As you can see, they still have a lot of room to expand, and they have been expanding ever since. There's another monument way back here, almost in the back corner, with the heads of dictators being scooped up by this piece of construction equipment here. We got Stalin, Lenin, Marx, Hitler, Mao. They call this the garbage of history. Here we have one of the leaders of North Korea, Vladimir Putin, is also included down here in the garbage of history. Now, I didn't name this memorial, don't take it out on me. From a distance, I just thought this was a piece of construction equipment here, just moving things that were gonna be installed later. This is a finished piece and a very strong statement. I mean, highly agree, highly disagree, whatever your flavor is, got to admit that this one sculpture really tells a story. I mean, even without reading the plaque. This one was installed June 1st, 2025, so it's just over a year old. So like I said, this place is still growing. And like I mentioned, I don't discuss sex, politics, or religion, particularly modern politics, on this channel. It doesn't mean I'm not interested in those things. I'm just not good at articulating a clear position or arguing. I really hate to argue. I'm a very bad debater, definitely not a master debater. I like to hear about all kinds of things, and I try to keep an extremely open mind and just try to learn as much as I can about all perspectives in the world. So Liberty Sculpture Park, very fantastic, but I'm definitely always publicly a super pro supporter of self-expression, the freedom of expression, and giant, colossal, crazy, weird, different, message or no message, roadside art. And look at this giant hand holding Liberty's torch, all still in this giant metal shipping cage right here. This is a future installation we're seeing. There's a little patch of desert. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but a little patch of desert kind of boarded off here to pour a new foundation. And it looks like these are the pieces of Lady Liberty's torch. You can see the kind of brass looking flames right there. And there's some steps and kind of a platform. I wonder if this will be to stand around the edge or maybe to stand up kind of at the base of the torch. That's gonna be pretty freaking cool. when that is installed right there. I don't know. Politics aside, there's just something awesome about somebody fleeing from another country, coming to America, buying a little patch of dirt, and then just creating this, putting their message out there. Now, this area is kind of famous for messages. Not that I'm equivocating the two, but there used to be this house along the side of the road. In fact, it still stands, but it's barely visible now. They had all these boards and crazy signs all about the sheriff's department and crazy conspiracy theories. There's obviously lots and lots of billboards up and down the highway, lots of Christian billboards and other billboards, all kinds of different messages. Kind of fits in a long tradition of the Mojave Desert being a place where people can buy some inexpensive land or a billboard or a house or a fence and make themselves heard. Yes, by the way, I am driving between most of these. It's hot. This is one of those days where you don't even turn the car off, man. You gotta keep that AC running. Okay, still a couple of more monuments out here. And again, I don't think you need to read the plaques to understand them all. Look at this one right here. This might be the most punk rock looking sculpture ever. You see all these nails driven into this sort of half skull, half face. You got the hammer and sickle over here on the side of it. And right down here it says CCP Virus 2 underneath the sculpture. That's the sculpture's title. I'm having a little trouble reading this sign on the fly. It's quite wordy, but I believe, yes, this is pandemic related. Now I know that's like the third rail for a lot of people. So again, I make absolutely no comment on the meaning or the message behind these sculptures. I mean, they've got to, they've explained for themselves right here in the sign that you could screenshot and read for yourself. So agree or disagree, it's here. And apparently this is called number 2, not because of a second virus, but I believe because the original was actually burned down in an act of sabotage right next door. The crazy thing is, normally if somebody said, my statue was targeted by communist spies, you know, you'd think they were crazy. But in fact, federal prosecutors did indict 3 men for working for the Chinese government and actually destroying this statue on purpose. So they definitely strike a nerve here. Again, it's not exactly the fun, like, oh mom, let's get out and see the giant dinosaur type of roadside attraction. It's very unapologetically political. This is a statue called Whistleblower right here with a shackle on top. And they're all dedicated to real incidents and real people who stood up against or were persecuted by or fled communism or were victims of communism. Something we don't learn a lot about in the United States because, of course, after World War II, or during World War II rather, we kind of had to make buddy-buddy with Joseph Stalin. And even though we had the Cold War heating up for a long time after Nixon opened us up to China, they've been a big trading partner. All of our stuff is made over there. And I gotta say, most Americans are pretty ignorant when it comes to communist history and communist atrocities, as opposed to, like, say, more European dictators and things. As far as I know, I only have one family member whose family came here to America escaping communism. That was my Uncle Lou's. Some of his extended family, they came from Serbia. Some of the pro and anti factions came to America, to the LA area, and built various different churches, like right next to each other, but they were on different sides of the factions. I got Quaker ancestors who were persecuted and came to America for religious freedom, but we're talking about, you know, the 17th century when it comes to that. More recently, I've got a lot of Italian immigrants in my family coming from Sicily who were definitely oppressed by mafia and corrupt local government and just straight up poverty, but never really anything like this. Here's a statue right here dedicated to Free Hong Kong. And it's pretty crazy, man. Like the work and the detail. It's quite a sculpture. I'm sorry, that was a heat glitch. He, meaning the person who created this, is quite a sculptor. And I don't see any English plaque on this one, but it just says freedom. And that is something I can get behind. Freedom for all. Having said that, and of course being very pro-democracy and very pro-USA, having grown up here and reaped all the benefits of growing up here, I can't really speak to conditions in China. I've never been there. I'd like to go one day, although maybe filming this might put a damper on that. I don't know. Anyway, that's the bulk, at least, of what's out here at the moment. Now, you might think it's kind of crazy to have a really big, intense, anti-communist monument right over here across the street from a giant ice cream sundae. But really, if you think about it, they're almost like cousins. Because if Liberty Sculpture Park is mainly anti-communist, EddieWorld might be one of the most pro-consumerist places on the planet. And while I guess they're not exactly the same thing, they certainly go together. Dude, you know what else goes together? Me and air conditioning. The deserts in Southern California are so dry, they literally suck multiple liters of moisture out of your body per day, to the point where if you're not properly hydrated or if you're not protected from the sun and it's evaporating all that moisture, all of the moisture can be sucked out of your body to where your blood gets so thick, your heart will stop pumping. That's why, as uncomfortable as it is and as counterintuitive as it is for people in much more humid climates, wearing a jacket or some kind of long sleeves out here this sun is kind of essential, because I'm very moist inside this jacket. And I'm also weak, and moisture alone is not gonna save me. I need some AC. Ooh, and I might need some lotto tickets too. All right, dude, we're back. One of the wonders of America, EddieWorld, where the why and the how of it all is irrelevant. What matters here is stuff, and even more stuff for sale, with more knickknacks and plush animals, and you can shake a stick at, plus beef jerky, caramel corn, homemade ice cream, crazy ceramic and glass mosaics in every column, a beverage bar, claw machines with cell phones and headphones in them, cherry limeade drink things, bathrooms where the urinals have video games in them that use your stream as the... Anyway, all kinds of weird posters, including celebrity yearbook photos, John Lennon, puzzles and games, the ultimate symbol of capitalism, although probably made in communist China, the Funko Pop, for some reason in the back, a whole mini museum of Lakers memorabilia, including a little piece of the court, the Exorcist jigsaw puzzle, fun for the whole family. Oh, that one's kind of awesome. Hammer horror mummy. Okay, I'm getting distracted. There's a whole food court back here with Chef Miguel's fresh takes and Calico Pizzeria. Got a fine selection of children's literature. They've got puffy stickers galore, meerkats and aqua cats and boars and foxes and moose. Oh my! Hamburgers, fries, chicken fingers, children's play sets, beanie bouncers, stingrays, a second pizzeria, Jedediah's jerky, a taco and tortilla set, just what I always wanted. Ooh, a pasta set. Now that would be fun for my whole family. Even Mr. Popper's freaking penguin out here. And more candy, including imported Swedish candy, than you could possibly imagine unless you've stood in here. So as you can see, this place is nuts. And speaking of nuts, I have some friends that drive to Las Vegas every year, and it's a big group. They have a security guard, a ex-military guy, right? Ex-special forces, as a matter of fact. He's always the driver. He takes care of the car, keeps it nice and clean. And they always stop at EddieWorld. And one of my friends that was in the back, who's actually from Nigeria, of all places, got a whole bunch of peanuts here and left the shells and the little fragments all over the back of the car. And I don't know where this story was going, but needless to say, the driver was not very happy. I wouldn't cross him. Anyway, the moral of the story is never eat shelled peanuts in a car on a road trip without a bag for your shells and remains, especially if the driver is ex-military. Oh, I didn't even mention the Mexican candy or all the metal lunch boxes out here. Got some Back to the Future, good old Dwight Schrute, some Bigfoot, some Sonic the Hedgehog. See, this is the ultimate example of sort of like consumerism, right? Like, I'm a big time collector. I love to collect all kinds of things. I totally get why people collected lunch boxes back in the day, right? Kind of a weird piece of pop culture memorabilia, and of course most of them will get destroyed over the years as kids used them and threw them away, sort of a disposable type of thing. But nowadays, I mean, they just crank these out in China with anything and everything on them. So I mean, yeah, I guess if you're a big Jurassic Park collector, you might want to throw that into your collection. But this is the kind of thing where, like, if you were a serious lunchbox collector, would you really collect these? I don't think people are actually using them as lunch boxes, right? That's how I am with Star Wars. There's so much Star Wars crap out there now. And I was buying and collecting so much stuff that really, honestly, I wasn't even a big fan of, or at least didn't think was a very worthwhile addition to the collection. I had to strictly limit myself to only things made before 1985. I mean, I just had so much crazy, like, prequel era stuff everywhere, Jar Jar Binks Pez dispensers and everything. It's like, once collectibles became acceptable, and once nerd culture in particular became sort of mainstream, they just started cranking out like zillions and billions of branded IP products of every size, shape, and description, just a whole bunch of, just a non-stop overdrive amount of stuff, to the point where sometimes, just sometimes, I feel like it takes the fun out of, like, the treasure hunt of finding old, unique things or items, or going out of your way to, like, rep something that supports something you love. You know, it just feels like it just feels like any company can slap a character you're familiar with on any product, no matter what the quality or usefulness, put it in every gas station, and they think that us collectors and nerds are gonna grab up everything, and they're partially right, because it works. And don't worry, I'm going somewhere with this. It definitely feels like sometimes the fun of actually collecting or a real fandom kind of gets lost in the shuffle of just the giant horde of stuff. It's overproduced and over-commercialized and everywhere all the time. And yet, something about it I absolutely love. Is it excessive? Oh, sure it's excessive. Could we do without all the landfill fodder? Oh, we certainly could. In fact, I'd say thrifting is one of the things most totally ruined by just the prevalence of just cheap off-the-shelf stuff and gift stuff, like cheap discount stuff and gift boxes for Christmas and stuff like that. Thrift shops are full of that stuff. It's hard to find the gems anymore. And yet, as long as it's here, I'm gonna have fun with it because I love seeing this old Thor comic book cover. I love seeing RoboCop and Ziggy Stardust on a puzzle for 1999. There is something kind of glorious about it. And it's not all non-essentials, right? Sweets and treats are a good thing. Nuts are certainly good for you. And EddieWorld contains a very large assortment of a hot sauce, which is pretty much the elixir of life. Where would we be without hot sauce? Oh, and apparently hot sauce themed Bloody Mary mix. The only problem with EddieWorld is that they have some good hot sauces, but they do not have the greatest hot sauce, which is made right here in the Southwest, created right here in Southern California. It is literally the goat. Yes, I know that's a meerkat, but I couldn't find a goat, believe it or not. The Random Land hot sauce. Oh, that is not junk, my friends. That is the greatest hot sauce of all time. I may be a little biased, but I'm pretty sure I can stand by that. You cannot get the Random Land hot sauce at EddieWorld, not yet anyways, but you can get it at randomland.com, where my family and I ship it to you right out of our living room. All right, anyway, I have cooled down quite a bit, so now I'm really gonna be hitting the road in earnest. The reason I showed you nothing between Anaheim and Liberty Sculpture Park and EddieWorld here is because there was nothing but traffic. Solid wall of traffic, which kind of puts a damper on half of my plan here. Because the mission wasn't just to go and retrieve my vest. My vest is actually out with my friend Tom Devlin, who was directing the movie that I was in called Return to Shadow Valley. Coming soon, coming soon. But in addition to working on that film, they have finished a film, but their same production company, Plan 10 Pictures, has just finished editing a movie that they're gonna be doing a little private screening for tonight at Tom Devlin's Monster Museum. I was hoping to make it in time. I don't think I'm gonna make it now, but that's all right. I'll catch it on the DVD. Okay, I am sufficiently cooled down. Time to hit the freeway. Make another stop not too far ahead, and when we do, I'll show you where you can buy some Random Land hot sauce. Tally-ho, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, don't worry, it's not that hot. It's only 113 degrees out there. According to the car, anyway. Only 113? I should have brought a scarf, too. I'm actually also using this time to do something that I almost never do, which is to listen to my own music. That's right, my own band. My old band, The Scarred. I've been working on some new projects, some to-be-announced projects, and I've had to put my brain back into that kind of mode. But now I finally made it. It was only 40 miles ahead, but what a 40 miles. For some reason, that feels like the longest 40 miles in all the hundreds of miles between LA and Las Vegas. And we've arrived back at the little town of Baker, the gateway to Death Valley. Look at that, the Royal Hawaiian Hotel, which was abandoned and sitting out there for years, is no more. The old wooden bridge is still here, though. A lot of people don't realize that's exactly what you're driving across when you cruise in to Baker. The Mad Greek is still here, going strong, along with the country store and Lucky Lotto shop over there. But I'm not here for lotto tickets or for Greek food. I'm not even here for the world's largest thermometer, 136 feet tall, representing the 136 degree world record. No, 134 degree, dang, dude. Exposed my ignorance. World record temperatures, Death Valley. I'm not even here for the world's tallest thermometer, which is 134 feet tall, representing the 134 degree world record temperature recorded in Death Valley, which has still never been broken. They thought it was gonna be broken once, so my brother and I went to Death Valley in a crazy heat wave. I think it only got up to 132, 133, so it wasn't that warm. I'm here to check on the Random Land hot sauce supply at Baker's most famous attraction, nowadays anyways, Alien Fresh Jerky, which is just up the road. But look at this. Before we even get all the way up to Alien Fresh Jerky, they have vacated the lot next door, and now look at this. That sign over there says, coming soon, Alien Energy gas station, restaurant, coffee shop, and convenience store. The other sign says Alien Plaza, gas station. What the heck? I've basically been posting regular updates on Alien Fresh Jerky from about, I don't know, 2015 or so. And it started out as just like a really, really plain little building selling beef jerky. Then they built this sort of alien crawler building around it. They built this huge robot alien sign. And before the robot crawler thing, this sort of alien tank was even finished around the sort of main Alien Fresh Jerky building. They started on the coolest project of all, the thing that is rising up still, back there beyond Alien Fresh Jerky. No, I'm not talking about the alien pretzel stand, which I've never seen open, by the way. I am talking about the UFO Hotel, which was supposedly going to open sometime this year. I know they're still working on it because when I was on my way back from Pahrump just a little while ago working on that movie, I came through Baker via Death Valley, or at least the road that goes up to Death Valley. Anyway, and I saw people in here working on it still. So far, it is still not complete. And even though the UFO Hotel, which must be costing quite a lot of money to build, is still not open, apparently next door across the ugly cinder block wall, which I can only assume is going to be torn down eventually, they are now going to have an Alien Fresh Jerky gas station, restaurant, coffee shop, and travel plaza, which is really the one thing that was missing over here from Alien Fresh Jerky was the gas station. They're connected. It's the Jack in the Box and Shell over there. The parking lots used to be connected, and I noticed just about a year ago that they stanchioned that off with like giant metal barriers like this over on the other side. I thought, that's weird. They've kind of been like partners almost with that gas station. You know, you stop at the Shell and then you cruise over to Alien Fresh. Didn't make any sense to me until I realized they're gonna come up with their own alien-themed gas station. Now, all those years that I was touring in my band, and I think I started traveling across country when I first got my driver's license, so I was 16. I did my first trip to Illinois, so that's 1999, so that's, what are we talking? 27 years ago, so almost 30 years ago. Even before that, when I traveled with my parents on family vacations and stuff like that, anytime I'd be out in the desert, I'd be like, dude, somebody should build a giant crashed UFO and make it a hotel. I used to say the same thing about taking old Victorian mansions and turning them into haunted bed and breakfast, like put some of those little haunted mansion type of tricks inside of them. Now there's all kinds of haunted Airbnbs and things. And now look at this. Of all the people in the world, the makers of Alien Fresh Jerky are making it happen. A UFO themed hotel. They don't even have one of these in Roswell, New Mexico. You know what else? I always said that one town on Route 66 should just go crazy, putting neon back, and they'd bring in, boatloads of tourists. That's happening in Stroud, Oklahoma now. I also always said, like, man, if people would just put like a whole bunch of these giant roadside attractions all together in one town, they dominate. That's happening in Atlanta, Illinois, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm starting to think I might be a little bit of a prophet. I should invest in my own ideas. Well, it's easy to feel like you're a prophet if you ignore the 99% of the time when you're wrong. But still, some of the things I dreamed I would see in my lifetime are taking shape now, which is pretty darn crazy. I've had lots of other money-making ideas. No one ever believes me when I'm like, dude, you know what'd be awesome? A crashed flying saucer or a UFO motel. Everyone's like, that's crazy, that'll never work. Look at these people out here building this. All I can think is just how much money does beef jerky make? I'm in the wrong business. I mean, they were able to build all this and build this whole hotel over here with beef jerky money? I know where the gas station money's coming from. That is from the wild runaway success of Randomland hot sauce, which, my friends, I am happy to say is available right here at, there's a sticker right there, at Alien Fresh Jerky. It's been legitimately hard to keep it in stock here. This is a very popular stop, and a lot of people know you can get the Randomland hot sauce in here, and it is the very best hot sauce in the world, at least the best green sauce, the best jalapeno flavored sauce for sure. And I'm about to check on the stock levels right now. It's not me that puts them into retail stores. I mean, sometimes I make the bargain. It's actually my partner, Johnny Winton, who I call Johnny Hot Sauce, who runs a little company called Music to Your Mouth. He's the one that helped me create the recipe and guided me through the whole FDA approval process and all the boring stuff. He's also a better guitar player than me and has a better brain for numbers. So he is the one who handles all the retail side of it. And just saying, if any of you have a shop out there, you want the best hot sauce ever, EddieWorld, are you listening? I was so excited when they put my hot sauce into one of the world's most famous now roadside attractions, roadside stops. I actually came all the way out here the day it debuted and wore a spacesuit out in the desert and then into the shop complete with bubble helmet just to see if my own hot sauce was indeed in stock. And it's usually right here, yes, right on the first shelf. Look at that, what do you know? It's right next to Music to Your Mouth's Himalayan habanero. This stuff is really spicy. And people who like the Random Land hot sauce but find it too spicy would probably love Music to Your Mouth's Himalayan jalapeno, which is sort of a similar flavor. I mean, you can tell they're very different, even in color and texture, but more mild, more palatable for those who don't like a lot of spice. I cannot tell all what's been rearranged in here, but clearly things have been shifted around a little bit. Oh, look at all these alien trophies. Usually the Random Land hot sauce will be located in more than one spot. Side note, I do not trust space aliens, and neither should you. Aliens are like space communists, you know? They should add that to Liberty Sculpture Park. I do like pretend aliens though. Real aliens, I'm convinced is some kind of fake psyop. But look at this. Random Land hot sauce right here on the back wall next to Music to Your Mouth, like I was talking about, and right near the crystal. So it's all charged up if you're into that wabi-sabi, woozy, jibbity-bibbity. And speaking of jibbity-bibbity over here, look at this. A whole lot of people have pulled his finger. All right, it is very busy in here. Quite a lot of folks are perusing the alien swag. Look at this, ooh, sour crystal candy, lunar ice. I love the display right here with the bubbles. Very 90s, very cool. It's crowded because as I stand here recording this, it's a Friday and the traffic between LA and Las Vegas on Fridays and on Sunday nights and sometimes on Monday mornings. It's pretty crazy. You want to come here and have more of the place to yourself, you got to come on like a Wednesday. Anyway, speaking of the 90s and things out of this world and bubbles and lights and light up objects, does anybody remember the store that was around in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s too, called Glow? I think that was the name of it. I don't remember if there was one at City Walk. There was definitely one at the Block in Orange County. All it was a store that sold like fluorescent stuff and blacklight stuff and lava lamps and glowing bubble tubes and stuff like that. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. The Interplanetary Galactic Federation Space Peace Patrol car. Looks like it needs some touch-ups over here, man. Before they get working on that gas station, they wanna spruce this bad boy up. Or maybe they'll add an auto shop. Maybe that's why they're building the gas station, right? Maybe there'll be a little garage to fix these Space Cops vehicle. By the way, Space Cop, great movie. Could use some body work and some custom paint, that's for sure. Anyway, I love that store, Glow. I always thought, like, I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna have a place in my house that's all just black light and glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling and every glow-in-the-dark thing you can imagine. That never happened, although I did used to hang out at this place in North Hollywood called CIA, the California Institute of Abnormal Arts, which was one of the coolest, most creative places I have ever been. I was friends with the owner, Carl Crew, who sadly, I just found out, sadly passed away about a year or two ago. And half of his place was all black light. Like, you cannot find videos on the internet that do it any justice because it closed before like the modern kind of cameras that could see in the dark and really showcase what blacklight looks like for real came out. But that place was so awesome. It did such a good job with a sort of blacklight fluorescent theming that I remember at this apartment in Anaheim, 125 North Belinda Circle. And we put plywood up all around the patio and then did circus stripes on that and put blacklight out there. So I kind of did it once. Anyway, I am now like an hour and a half behind. Basically the duration of the movie I was supposed to go out there and watch the premiere screening of. So I probably shouldn't dilly-dally here where we've been 1,000 times for too much longer. I've done this drive so many times. There's pretty much nothing I haven't seen between LA and Las Vegas along the 15, except that was actually the closest I've ever gotten up close and personal with Liberty Sculpture Park. That's why I brought you along for the journey. It's literally my first time. I've saved it all these years on purpose. Now, because it's like 117 degrees, according to both the world's largest thermometer and this giant robot thermometer. I don't know if you can read that on the bottom because Alien Fresh Jerky has a lot of very stroby lights. Probably best that I get back in the car and resume the journey out to Tom Devlin's Monster Museum. And I can't wait to cross that state line into Nevada before I get gas, because although Nevada is not as affordable as it used to be, it beats California gas prices, let me tell you. Oh, real quick though, look at this this building across the street. It used to be a Chinese restaurant. I love the graffiti on there. I love that this guy's tagging name is just Dude. You see that? Dude! And another guy, probably the best looking art on the wall, his name is Poser, which is pretty good. All right, just I guess that's apropos of nothing, but it amused me. Funny, because the coolest thing about Baker used to be not just the It's funny, because the coolest thing about Baker definitely used to be the fact that it has the world's tallest or world's largest thermometer, however you want to phrase it. And the funniest thing about it is it used to have a restaurant and hotel over there called Bun Boy, and that was always the thing. And now, the most famous thing here, Alien Fresh Jerky. They are totally taking over. They're gonna rename this freaking town Alien Fresh California next, I feel like. Anyway, it's literally so hot, dry, and windy out here that my eyeballs feel like they're drying out in my sockets, so I'm gonna get back in the car now. Side note, listening to my own music, which I haven't done for years, I was pretty pleased on Apple Music to see that the favorites have changed, like the favorite songs, or most played songs, or whatever. Now Worthless is in some of the top songs. Probably the best song I ever wrote, and Sirens. I'm pretty proud of that. I am working on new stuff, but it'll be a while till anyone hears that, probably, since we've already been working on it for like a year. But it's very surreal, very weird, almost like stepping back into a former life. Don't worry though, there are no planned live performances, so nobody's ears will be tortured. All right, dude, I'm gonna say it. This may be kind of a controversial take for the desert in August out here next to Death Valley, but it's freaking hot outside. Had a little downtime lately due to illness, mostly Allie, having some Crohn's flare-ups, and also doing a couple of years worth of accounting for taxes that I've been a little behind on. Not paying them, just crunching the numbers because I'm mathematically challenged. But I've been using this opportunity to do a lot of thinking about just stuff on your bucket list, stuff that you want to finish, projects that you want to do. Just kind of thinking about how I do things and how I'd like to change them. You know, lots of stuff. I was already working on just a couple of songs for fun with my friends, and now I'm finally getting back to them and definitely want to finish them, maybe add to them, because my friend Adam, who we lost sadly, other than maybe my friend Tom Devlin, was like, for whatever reason, the #1 fan of my songs and stuff, and was always on me like, dude, we should start a band, or you should at least record some stuff, blah, 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 blah. He got all excited that I was working on just a couple new songs, and yeah, so I just want to finish them, and luckily I have his bass, so I've already begun to, whoa, all right, buddy, get over. Luckily I do actually have his bass, so I've already begun to incorporate his bass into the recordings, which is kind of cool. So I don't know when they'll be finished, but someday. We all only get one life, and it is painfully short. The older I get, the shorter and shorter it feels. So I just want to try to get as much done as I can. All those things, all those back burner things. I'm like, okay, which one of these do I want to bring out on the front burner, you know? Anyway, time to concentrate, drive, make some good time. Gotta get to Nevada and get that cheaper petroleum. All right, we have reached Primm. We have reached the state line between California and Nevada right now. I just filmed a whole video about Primm about 6 months ago that no one will ever see, because I walked all over this town, I wandered into buildings that have seen better days, etc., etc. Then I got home and all the audio was messed up. And the video was unsalvageable, and I just haven't had the heart to try to do it again. It's okay, I rarely stop there. Anyways, I always wait until a little farther on in Jean, Nevada, where I usually stop to fill up the tank at one of the world's largest gas stations. Just look for the giant abandoned hotel casino, and you know you're in the right place. Ah, there we go. Terrible's Roadhouse, one of the largest gas stations on Earth. I think they still bill it as the largest Chevron on Earth. There are 96 gas pumps at this freaking gas station. It's no Buc-ee's, but it'll do, it'll do. Well, fuel's not as good of a bargain as I thought it was going to be. It's still, pretty much everything but regular is over $6. Ooh, well, everything but regular is over $6, so the gas isn't as affordable here as I was thinking it might be. That's all right, I just need a little smidgen, just a smidge for safety. I'm definitely 100% a red-blooded, petroleum-burning, loving American. I love gas-powered vehicles and the freedom of the open road, but I am glad that I bought this Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. Now that gas is double, it really doesn't help as much as it would have, but it helps a lot. Dude, look at this. I pulled up and parked right next to a truck that can drive itself, a GMC research vehicle. There's a couple of them here. I was just talking about this the other day, that I know it's probably better. We were in traffic in LA, and I was saying, you know, it's probably for the best that one day it'll all be automated cars. It'll be all like on some kind of supercomputer, and there won't be any more accidents. Traffic will flow smoother. Probably eventually every car will be electric, but I'm glad that as fast as it's coming, it's gone slow enough that it'll probably be after my time. Because although some say that might be a better world, I don't know if I'd want to live in a world where I couldn't get behind the wheel of my car and sort of control my own destiny, choose my own adventure, you know? I don't know. Maybe for future generations it won't matter so much, but that is like burned into my soul. That's my thing. Anyway, Terrible's Roadhouse. Speaking of aliens, I won't bore you with a full tour of this place as we've showcased its various features many times before. But for those of you that are totally unfamiliar with this gas station, it is not only enormous inside, but it is full of enormous things like giant promotional things, airplanes in the ceiling, race cars, movie cars, and a giant light up neon welcome to Las Vegas sign. But in recent years, they've also added the alien outpost over here. And look at this, you got a little alien wearing an extraterrestrial highway shirt. They sell all kinds of Area 51 souvenirs over here, which is smart because you used to have to go all the way out near Area 51 to get any of this stuff. And even today, when the drive is much more common and much more tourist friendly, and there are more businesses than ever down on the extraterrestrial highway, it's still pretty freaking remote out there. So if you're just a casual fan of random Area 51 or alien souvenirs and knickknacks, this is a perfect place to stop and get them if you don't want to actually go and brave the extraterrestrial highway yourself. Side note, that's the weirdest alien of them all. But there's actually an even better, more mom and pop stop if you really need to get an alien fix in Nevada, and that is in Boulder City, right next door to Tom Devlin's Monster Museum, Tom Devlin's Alien Museum. That's not what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. And I should, because I was literally its first customer. I think it's Outpost 51 in Alien Area Museum. I just call it the Alien Museum. Anyway, I gotta run the Krispy Kreme gauntlet to the restroom and we'll hit the road again. By the way, I was walking up to the car and I was just about to tell you the whole saga of how I had to get my cracked windshield replaced and how much it cost and everything, and then I realized that's a really boring story, so I'm just not gonna tell it. Pretty excited about this though. We don't have these in California. Plastic bags. I feel like I'm back in America. All right, well, we're like less than 30 minutes from Las Vegas, but I'm not going there. I have no interest in seeing anybody naked or drinking any alcohol today. We're just 40 miles from Tom Devlin's Monster Museum and the end of the quest for the vest. Well, we managed to skip over Las Vegas and blissfully the sun is down. It's still 107 degrees, but the difference between sun up 107 and sun down 107 is, well, it's like night and day. I love Boulder City, man. Cool little town, and I got a lot of friends here, some of whom I hope we see right now. Oh, there we go, finally. Once again, we're back at Tom Devlin's Monster Museum. But of course, not just Tom Devlin's Monster Museum. You've also got Tom Devlin's workshop slash film production studio slash haunt, which is going to be coming up soon here for Halloween. He is resurrecting Blackwell Manor. And the Alien Museum, the Outpost 51 Alien Museum to be exact. Whew. Don't tell Tom that I messed that up earlier. Can't wait to see if and how the Alien Museum has changed, if and how the Monster Museum has changed, but I'm gonna have to wait until the next adventure, at least, to stick my head in there. This adventure's been plenty long enough. I had to grab my soda there. And it was all about the quest for the vest. The rest can wait. Tommy D, opening the museum up for me. Okay, I did actually make it in time for the movie. I can't show you the movie, but we watched the movie, which was not directed by Tom Devlin. Tom Devlin. It was directed by Waleed. Great job, Waleed. That was amazing.
Thank you.
That was, I wasn't expecting. It's called It Steals Your Skin, I Steal Its poster. When is it coming out?
It comes out on Tubi on August 11th.
August 11th, and it's free, so no matter what you think of it, you can't complain.
You don't even need to have an account. Like, you can say, oh, I don't have Tubi. You don't need to be. Just go on Tubi. Type in It Steals Your Skin, watch it on day one.
Okay.
It helps us out a million.
It Steals Your Skin, August 11th.
August 11th.
What's it about, Wally?
Everybody watch it on August 11th.
It's about skincare, right? Mainly?
It's about skincare, beauty products. It's a good slasher movie with a pretty cool twist that you'll have to find out on August 11th.
A great catchphrase, dude. Involving, well, I can't say. It'll give it away. Watch it. August 11th. Not for kids, though. I don't know. What's that rated? R. Like a pirate movie.
you know, when we set out to make this movie, we were like, we're both big fans of Dusk Till Dawn, and I was like, we got to make a movie that's something for the first half, and then
something else for the second half. Dude, I love it. Plan 10 pictures.
And I think we gave it away too soon.
So this is the first Plan 10 picture that you didn't direct, right? You or Lola?
Lola.
Okay,
Lola.
so you and your wife have directed everything, and now it's Waleed's debut as a director.
We do release other people's movies, but under a different Plan 10 releasing. So,
okay.
But in-house produced.
So what you're saying is everyone who has a movie they want to put out should call you.
We have a brand of. I mean, if you have a movie you're looking to get distribution, we're very good at it.
I was kidding, but okay.
But it has to fit the brand. We're very strict because we're trying to protect what we are.
Yeah, Plan 10. It's unlike anything else. Waleed, great job. You're the man. And also, great job on the freaking poster. What the living heck? Dude, I feel like not many people get it when it comes to Plan 10 pictures and like kind of the vibe behind these movies. But one day it's going to click. The right reviewer is going to find this stuff and expose it to the right audience. And it's going to be huge. Look, I'm in this one. Teddy told me to. I get killed in this one. I think I'm in the background of it a little bit. Las Vegas Frankenstein. I play myself faking like I'm still in a band in the After Dark. And they are editing Return to Shadow Valley right now. So that one I actually talk in more. This was awesome. Except for Tom forgot my vest at his house. So now I have to go to Tom's house. A second location. They always say never go to the second location, Waleed. Never go. Dude, look at this. I have the Star Speeder at home. And Tom just gave me the passengers. He's like, do you want this? I said, yes. There's just one problem. I will open this and put these guys inside of that original D23 Star Speeder thing that I've got. Old school Paul Rubens Star Tours will live forever. And now, I leave the Monster Museum, I go to Tom's house, I get my vest back, and I go home and sleep well. Because I gotta be up all night tomorrow on another shoot, not a movie shoot with Tom, but a Halloween shoot with my friend Spike from Spike's Breezeway, Tiki Cocktail Breezeway, whatever it's called. And I can't tell you what we're doing, but he's investigating something for Halloween, and he wants me to be there. We're going to be up all night. So I'm going to buy some sick merch here at Tom's Monster Museum, and then I'm going to do that entire drive I did today in reverse in the dark, because it won't be as hot. It's the most random adventure ever, but it was good to get out of the house, and I will be back. Tom has not changed the Monster Museum sufficiently enough for me to film anything new in there. Normally the entire museum gets a makeover like every couple of months, but Tom built an attraction for Indiana Beach, I think it's called. He was working on his haunt like crazy. He's made a crap ton of movies since the last big Monster Museum change, but another big change is in the works and coming up, so I figure, all right, no need to stick around and film the museum as is. We'll come back when it's all completely restored. But if you do want to see the inside of the Monster Museum, Tom and I have filmed many adventures together inside of it. I have filmed a behind-the-scenes adventure on Tom's movie shoots, some of which they show in the museum at the end. All right, everybody's leaving, so I'm going to grab my Star Wars stuff and get the heck out of here. Give me my vest, Tom, so I can go home. Tom, I left a big gap so that you could say "and sleep well," and you didn't say it.
And sleep well.
There we go. All right, Boulder City gas was only $4 and something per gallon, so I have refueled. I got the vest back, right? All right, I feel like myself again. I feel like we can get back to work, back to action. I was gonna stay out here and then, do another day. And then I realized it's up over 110 degrees, man. That's when it gets gnarly, Maybe we wait till it cools down. So what comes next? I have no idea. But that is the fun of Random Land.